Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Fire it off.
Oh, 3, 2, 1, go.
I have to open it with this shit.
One of these days, I feel like the knife is just going to go flying and it's going to go right in my eyeball.
End me.
You'll have to put up the we're having technical difficulties thing.
So, bitches, welcome to the first 2021 episode of Necro Electric, Season 3.
New year.
New me.
Well, probably. Like, probably change their name again and you go different color green or some shit.
No, not too green.
I'm your host, Sean D. Skellington. This is my sex kitten wife, Kylie. And over here is Oscar Fernandez's Grinch of Christmas.
Grinch?
Jordan, which one are you?
Fernandez.
Fernandez.
I got my driver's license back that says Fernandez, so I count that as
So
official.
You're legit.
I'm legit now.
Today we have a very special guest. He is Steve Veracruz.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Welcome.
Before we kick it off, hit that subscribe button.
Do it.
Help us out.
Get us to 2021 followers. Subscribers.
Sure.
Sorry. Something like that. Just make it ironic.
Any of it.
I don't know.
Definitely hit that like button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit the like button.
Comment, subscribe, like.
Because we're enemies of the algorithm. They don't like our explicit content.
Oh, no.
It happens.
Even
So
though,
it's on you guys.
they have naked yoga on YouTube. And the only reason it doesn't get flagged is because it is not pornographic in nature.
Okay.
So I only found that out last week. And I was like, really? They're going to be
Is
upset?
Oscar watching it?
No. It was in
It's
the
not pornographic in nature.
It was in the group chat with Aaron and Mike, and because Aaron brought it up, and I was like, "What? Really? I said, won't they get flagged?" He's like, "No, because they're not doing. It's not porn. They're doing it for health and I don't know, information reasons." And I'm like, "But why would?" I don't know. I feel like the worst positions to be in while you're naked are yoga positions.
Yoga position. Totally.
Maybe.
All right, so let's get to know Steve. This is his first time on the show, so he has to do Who the Hell Are You?
I don't have a pin. I don't have a pin.
Last time. We'll have to share.
I did break it. Aw, sad times. Okay.
All right. So we will guess your answer. So hold off on giving it to us.
Okay.
All right. Werewolf, vampire, monster hunter, pirate, or troll?
Look. You looked at mine.
I'm going to say...
I feel like there was another option in that list before.
There has been.
Wizard.
Yeah, wizard. You could be fuck, I'm spacing it.
I think you said them all.
Warlock.
Right.
Warlock?
Okay.
Done over there.
Yeah.
Afro puffs. Rough and stuff. All right, what's your answer?
Well, once upon a time, it was vampire, but I've upgraded since then. So it's moved on to Warlock Wizard.
Aw. I should have put Warlock Werewolf.
Werewolf, wizard, warlock, pirate.
You win. There it is.
You guys are just writing them all now? I just wrote werewolf. We thought for sure you were a
I
werewolf.
swear to God, every
No.
single time we have a guest with facial hair, he's like werewolf.
You telling me Steve doesn't have a werewolf vibe to him?
I
A
used
little
to.
bit.
I did
a
write
little
werewolf
bit.
too, so yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A few years
But
ago,
also
yeah, there was
Warlock
all of
and
this.
pirate
It was
vibes.
crazy.
He's got like a
Yeah.
focused werewolf vibe to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, question 2. What kind of porn do you enjoy?
It's not personal whenever I write this. It's just me trying to be funny.
You're supposed to be guessing.
I am guessing.
Mm,
I'm going to carve it in this with this.
Here.
Let's see. You got like a hard wall to get past.
I should play cards.
got a good poker face.
Yeah, you got a good poker
Yeah.
face.
I hate gambling though.
Yeah, I'm not really good at it.
Okay.
Wow. Y'all answered already? I didn't
Yeah.
see y'all.
All right.
Wow.
What's your answer?
Okay, if any of y'all tuned in just for this answer, it's going to get interesting.
Oh, here we go.
So I came across this very interesting, speaking of algorithms, it's NSFW, right? So not safe for work, right? And it leads into a lot of the more mature rated stuff, right? And then so I typed it in Google search or just the browser, and then
Crazy not for safe.
Yeah,
work
so a
porn
lot
popped
of
up.
not safe for work stuff came up, and then surprisingly there was porn in there, and so the porn on there are all GIFs. So it's almost like shotgun porn where you just see in quick 2 or 3 seconds or something. And then it's like bam, bam, you're covering all the bases.
All
You
right.
just take a whole journey and
Yeah.
matter
Just
of
like a
First.
couple of scrolls, bam, done.
Yeah.
Gift porn.
gift porn.
knew?
This one.
Yes.
I said blind woman porn.
Blind woman porn.
Let's get
I
random.
don't know.
Let's get random.
Is that a thing?
I'm sure it is. If not, it could be a thing.
So, like,
I guess. I don't know.
Or it's not Helen. Who's the blind one?
Helen Keller?
Was it Helen Keller?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Helen Keller.
Some braille porn.
I'm sorry.
I put artsy porn. Like,
I did too.
did you?
I put like naked painting porn or something.
Yeah. Like, like in the Big Lebowski, where she
Yeah.
comes flying in nude and like lands on the canvas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like Steve would be like, "Yeah,
One of
that's good."
one of the biggest paintings I have at home has like a lot of nudity in it, but it's just art, really.
Yeah.
So I can't get into that.
You know, my grandma used to have a few of those. Like, I never knew how to feel about it, like, because they were like old timey, like Renaissance age, like,
Yeah.
paintings where the chicks like got her fucking tits out.
With the
There's
little
some guy
baby
with
cherubs.
a water jug trying to like,
Yeah.
like give her water with this jug.
How it should be.
Yes.
Just be laying around with our tits out while you men feed us grapes and water.
Good days.
I'm down.
Times were simpler then.
Yeah.
It's much easier to do that.
I also love how those paintings have now turned into memes and gifs of their own.
Oh yeah.
Like people just transform them into the most ridiculous things, and you're like, oh man, I don't know if this is genius or just really stupid.
I
I
saw
can't
this really
decide.
great challenge when quarantine first started, where people were like recreating these paintings at home.
Yes.
Like they'd like the girl with the fruit on her head. They'd make a basket of fruit, wrap themselves in like sheets.
or the
and
girl
stuff.
who had like
There
a
were
bunch
some
of
good
like
ones.
crackers around her.
Yes.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
like laid down and had crackers just like covering bits and pieces of her and
Yeah.
like in these shapes around her, and I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
It was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
That's
All right, question 3. You're on your deathbed, looking back on your life thus far. What's your biggest regret?
In light of one of the topics we're going to speak about today, I think this one's pretty easy. And when I first found out about Bitcoin, I blew it off like it wasn't a big deal. And many people are going through this now where, they are telling themselves the same thing. Oh, if I only would have gotten into Bitcoin when it was $1, less than $1, something like that. So for the moment, that one's pretty easy, and saying, if I only would have gotten in, not getting in Bitcoin early in the day because it's so ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
It's-
So valued. It's made so many millionaires. It would have made things a little easier.
Oh man.
So weird. I feel like I'm talking to my dad because he's been on a Bitcoin rant like the whole time we were at doing Christmas. Like he would get into these conversations with my sister and my brother and talking about Bitcoin, and he managed to he bought like a fraction of one and talking about the price of that, and I was just like, that is so just beyond me. Like just anything financial, like stocks and investments and all those things, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm stupid. Like,
Factoid, I've only seen her brother dressed as Gandalf. So when she talks about her brother, that's how I picture him.
I don't think I'd ever recognize him if I just saw him on the street.
Yeah.
I know.
Wow.
I can pick her sister out of a lineup. I just got to turn away and I can hear the voice.
Oh yeah, she
Okay.
sounds just like Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gandalf's great, though. The gray or the white?
I think he was the gray one.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a sweaty man and a white beard, so I'm going to say gray.
Okay.
So Steve has a new podcast about cryptocurrency.
Correct.
Before we jump into that, I wanted to give you guys a little background. The show actually evolved greatly from Mr. Steve when we first moved here.
Thank you, sir.
He, a lot of people like make the Star Wars joke that he's Palpatine and I'm your Vader, because he was like, you know, go and contact this guy Scubavelli and contact Russell Campbell and contact all these local artists and
let us know who was the who in Waco.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was random too because we had never met or anything. It was just we just got talking on like Messenger or something. And
You
then
did well, Dot Skellington.
every week he gave me a new name. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Roll the dice. Yeah. So actually, a big thank you to building our guest fan base.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that. I caught the last episode, the year in 2020. I was I enjoy every one of y'all shows. It's great entertainment and you know, being one to not regularly watch TV or cable, you know, I find my own types of programming or forms of entertainment, and this was one show that I really enjoyed, especially for this year. You know, you needed something uplifting and something to make you laugh, and I think y'all guys always found a way to do that. But I also thank you very much for inviting some of my artist friends here on the show. Another regret, I guess I could say, is when I first saw y'all and found out about y'all and sort of but not really met y'all was at the East Side Market, the first one when y'all showed up, right? And I was making some rounds.
Jordan wouldn't know about East Side Market.
No, I wouldn't.
But Steve does.
I was making some rounds and, talking to everyone, greeting everyone. And I had no idea, who y'all guys were, where y'all were coming from. So I honestly thought y'all were from out of town and, felt a little offstandish, like, I don't know. Maybe I'll come back and say hello. And I didn't. It got really busy. It was like an amazing day. Like, it felt like 50,000 people showed up or something. Yeah. So
it was a good one.
And one of the hottest days of the year as well.
Yeah, we got a little buzz by the end of the day.
That was so crazy. Yeah, and then I started to follow y'all a little bit, and I saw so much potential. And, and I saw something in y'all that felt familiar. So I had to reach out to you, Sean, and see if you could, or if you would be interested in meeting some more guests of Waco.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's some of our closest friends now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For real.
Yeah.
And that also stems from, in case people don't know, you and your wife run the Central Texas Art Collective.
That's correct. Yeah. And so going to where it felt familiar about, how you operated. We created that artist collective in 2015, and so this year, that particular year, was very unexplainable because there were so many other organizations and groups and businesses all of a sudden sprouting up at that very year in that very moment. And basically, I mean, a lot of things precede each other, so it all it's going to a seed takes its place, it plants it very well, and it depends on us on how we bloom it, right? So in 2015, all these groups, organizations, businesses started to sprout up, and I wasn't aware of that fully because all I knew was there was an artist scene here. There were so many creatives and so many levels of talent. There needed to be another voice, another way, another platform to help them find their way. And so we, I was really diligent in trying to get that off the ground, and so much so that, I was trying to promote almost everyone, not just artists themselves, but a lot of the businesses that were helping in that effort and cultivating the artists, the artwork, whether even if it was more than just the visual, right? Because we're an artist collective, so we had to try and find talent in multiple disciplines and multiple talents of like singing, instruments, sculpture. There were so many ways, right? When people think of art, they usually have one side, maybe one side of thinking what art is to them, and it really is more than just a painting on the wall. There's so many levels of creativity, and that's what resonated with me because I saw so much of it here in Waco. Waco has this energy that started brewing, and that's continued to spiral out more than anyone maybe would have known or recognized at the time. And so we were just one artist collective that had to cultivate and foster a lot of emerging artists in the art scene that was just getting started in its own way at that time. Now, I'm not going to say that I was, that we were the first, type of arts collective, because there were others before us and the many artist groups that gathered here. In fact, T. Aguilar was one of those early art pioneers, and him and a friend of his or friends of his were creating an art collective back then. So there were many attempts to get some diverse creativity and a new wave of energy off the ground in Waco in the past, but it just wasn't ready. At least I don't think it was until 2015, when there was just more than one. There were so many entities happening at once, and then it just kept growing and kept growing.
What I liked about your collective was the interesting ways that you brought different artists together. So like the drink and draws, the rally race where everybody does the chalk,
right?
And so you have street artists, you have illustration artists, you have painters, and they're all meeting in these events, and even though everybody's an artist, it's all different worlds. And I like the fact that you kind of mesh everybody together, and then everybody starts networking. And
it has this very strong therapeutic nature to it. So first off, most people that say they don't, they're not an artist or they don't have art tendencies, I will always differ. You have this, this fashion sense. You have this particular way of seeing things. You gravitate towards colors or fashion or anything. That's your artist perspective.
I tell that to her all the time, because she's always like, because she's a pretty good illustrator and graphic designer in her own right. But then
I would say no, but
and then people invite her to go on and talk about her art, and she's like, I'm not an artist, but she designs lingerie, she does taxidermy art, she does all these different things, and I'm like,
a creator of of a different sort. And I saw so many different ways to try and present art and to assist the community, especially because that word means a lot to me as well, especially being from here, living here most of my life. And then, just understanding that it's important to love where you live, because that's your environment. And then your environment is exactly essential to your being and your survival. So there had to be some positive progression, in the way that many of these seeds were going to bloom here in, the near future, and still coming up that we have yet to see. And so another unique art platform or program to mention is something that we created, was called Ekphrasis. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
So it's the combination of a visual art with a writer. And so we did something just completely different, and collaborate artists, a visual artist with a writer artist, and got them to collaborate together to create a single piece, which consists of these two visual representations. Cool. So one will complement the other. They actually complement each other. And so this was such a unique and different platform that's never been done or even really heard of, and done in different sorts, because where would we do something like this? It's a very unique display, and galleries weren't exactly open to a lot of new like different types of art,
pioneering art.
There's a lot of different types of establishments that already have their established way of doing things. And so the way CTAC had to operate was just go and do wherever, however. And one of my favorite places in Waco was downtown. So whenever I would go downtown, I would see this very unique and interesting corridor of the walls on both sides that needed to be they needed to have a splash of art in the windows. And so we displayed all these unique displays, these wonderful pieces of work from visual artists and writers along the windows in the downtown area, so that everyone can enjoy it, not just people to go out of their way to go to a gallery, which they wouldn't do.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we had to bring that into fruition to kind of expand that thinking of what art can do especially what Waco can do. And so
Yeah.
it's only progressed since then.
It's funny because I was talking to Rachel Sine, who is opening Celestial Sisters. I was talking to her last night about how it's really funny because Waco has these two kind of battling groups of people. The people who have lived here and are used to a certain thing, even with the art and music or whatever. And then you have the new people coming in that are trying to like kind of push those people out. So they're like constantly butting heads because, you know, Rachel's talking about how there were a couple buildings that they looked at for their store, but people found out what they were going to be selling and they were like, oh no, thank you. We don't want your money.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So, but it's funny to me because I'm like, okay, but this city is progressing at such a rapid rate. Why would you turn down that money? Like, why would you turn down that possibility of growing a community to be different?
Some people have an old set, old mindset.
A lot of these building owners are older generation.
Yeah.
There was one downtown that we looked at, and it was completely. The guy had 4 empty units, the
Completely
whole
empty.
plaza, and we made it a good offer, and he said no.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Is
It's
you
still for rent.
Yes, to this day.
you just have the conservative older generation living in Waco that they don't like the tourists, they don't like the new stuff, they want it to be exactly the same, Bible thump in Waco, Texas that it was, and now it's changing. And so I feel like we're doing a good job about pushing those people out and trying to make room for people who actually want to see this city progress in a, I don't know, less Magnolia way and more in a unique way.
Yeah,
I'm not even opposed to Magnolia. I've said it a bunch of times.
Oh, I'm not
There's
either.
a lot of people that hate the Magnolia thing, but I'm like, hey, that it puts a spotlight on Waco, and I feel like it gives the rest of us an opportunity because we're all in that spotlight.
And that point you bring about the newcomers to Waco, I mean, they were the ones that were more susceptible to making things happen. Because I did have the door shut on me with the already existing, people that lived here. That was the way that they lived, and there was no change that they wanted to appreciate. And there were so many people moving into town, coming and trying to be involved, wanting to know what Waco is about, who the community is. And as soon as I met them, I had to cross-communicate a lot of potential that, that was waiting. And to find out who they were about and let them know who, our collective was about, and then just, expand the energy from there. And they were more susceptible to seeing the bigger picture and then just going and making it happen.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that's
And a
what
lot of
happened.
it's just fear of change, There's a lot of people that'll avoid our like markets and stuff, because they think it's like devil worship or something. But then when they actually show up, like we had people at our last one, and they're like, oh, I've been thinking about coming, but I wasn't sure about it. He's like, but I had a really good time.
Right.
It's like everybody's nice, and there's all kinds of cool stuff. Old guy.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Don't you know, goths are just the nicest people. It's because we're all sensitive inside.
Emo.
We got time for an ad real quick.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Dark and Jury Clothing. Dark and Jury is an edgy fashion and lifestyle brand that embraces great design and unsurpassed quality. Dark and Jury has quickly gained a following amongst fans of the occult, horror, punk rock, heavy metal, and all-around free thinkers and retailers worldwide without shoving a preachy, trendy, or political message down your throat. So buy the best, fuck the rest, darkandjuryclothing.com.
Boom. Check out this.
That one scares me.
This is from Modern Savage. Shout out.
Damn.
You guys.
Nice.
And you can
Someone's
see
got
some
a
more of
collection
their weaponry above Steve.
That was
It's not dangerous.
Wicked.
Don't worry.
It's all upcycled weaponry, handmade.
So curious. I want to
yeah. That was
no more form of
swing
art.
it around.
Aurora's favorite booth when she came to the market. She loved all the sharp stuff. She just wanted to play with it. She wanted the walking sticks. She just, all of it. It was because every other table she was like, or roasting people.
That's what I heard. She was roasting a bunch of people.
Yeah.
She punched me in the butt like 2 times.
Really?
I was like, what are you doing, man?
She has no fear. Okay, that's not true.
cute.
She's afraid of silly things, but when it comes to like being in public, she just does not care how silly
Yeah.
she looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, she told me because my pants are sagging a little.
Oh, she told you.
Yeah,
to
she
pull
said,
back.
pull your pants up.
Get it.
I was like, whatever. And I turned my back, and then I felt a little fist hit my ass.
Well, in every table that we went to, she would just do this. She would just like she
She'd walk
approved of
Really?
their
Like,
table.
Good job.
Yes. And I was like, oh my God, girl. Like, I wish that I had that
cute.
confidence, but at the same time, I'm just like, shh, don't have to be so loud. Don't have to be so
Oh
rude.
my god.
So let's talk about your podcast you got coming up. Very exciting.
Wow. Yeah. Honestly did not think I would do something like this. Podcast was, that's something that I enjoy. I watch and listen to a lot of different ones.
Is this going to be on Rogue Media, or is this?
Yeah. So, big shout out to Mike and Rogue Media. Man, he is, I was there when he first pitched that idea. So there's a place called Startup downtown. And it's a place where you go and just explain, like pitch an idea or promote your business, right? And you're in a room full of interested and maybe a diverse set of investors. And I remember, and it'd be every Wednesday morning. So I would love to attend those. And one morning I saw him there. And I was like, "Hey, Mike, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna, talk about this podcast idea." And I'd known him and followed him when he was doing Oni-chan at King's Landing at Butter My Biscuit, and he would do some stuff at Bear Arms Brewery, but the sound there wasn't so great. But he always had that idea and dream of wanting to really expand that ability. And so, he got up there and pitched this idea to a room full of interested individuals. And it worked, I think, enough for him to at least get that, off the ground. And next thing I know, he tells me he gets a building and he's doing all these podcasts. And there's like this great lineup of diverse shows. And I couldn't be more happier for him and the potential of this, but it was a way for people to expand their voice and, what they had to say, no matter how funny or serious or, just, again, there's such a diverse lineup of shows. And it's so interesting to see the number of people that have signed on for that. And so, I came on, I approached him. I said, "Hey, Mike, I got this idea." Actually, the first time I approached him was to do an art podcast. And
Shout out to Zachary Jones.
yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Stole your idea.
So
Fight.
I said, okay, well, somebody's already doing an art podcast. I have another idea. And but we were at the end of a long meeting at that point, and I had to catch up with him in another day. And then so I did, and I asked, I talked to him about, I said, "What do you think about crypto?" And, the common response is, "I've heard about it, but don't know much about it." And so I felt like, there has to be a way to get this information out there because it's not being given to us regularly, at least not here in the States that I've seen. You kind of have to go out and look for it.
Yeah.
And you have to really find out about it. And, it touches on all different levels. It doesn't matter how much you know or don't know. It's just that that aspect of awareness, and beginning that transition into learning. Like, for example, I do not use PayPal or Venmo. Why? Because I don't know how to use it. But I use crypto all day. So it goes the other way, right? A lot of people I know use Venmo and PayPal. They don't use crypto because they don't know how to use it. It's just the same thing.
It intimidates people when they start talking about like blockchain technology.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. People are kind of like, it's over their head. But it's definitely the future.
It's really, it was really mind blowing when I first found out about it. Or at least when I first started to really dive into it and research. So I've always been known as the art guy. I've gone above, out of my way to try and make things happen for artists and for those connections. We were establishing a very strong network for the city to become aware of the potential. Like, as this city, you need to know the amount of creativity, the amount of creators that live here, because they can make so many amazing things happen. And you need to be, aware of what Waco's turned into now. And so, whenever, but one thing that people don't understand or know about me is I'm like a very thorough researcher, and I've learned and seen a lot of different things. And I never stop learning. I keep absorbing as much as I can. And then so when I started to get into crypto, I started to find out just how impacting this is going to be for the entire world. And then to think about how people are going to be impacted, because this is a very real transition that we're all going to be using. No one is going to be immune, meaning even the person living in the most remote village in a third world country, they're even going to be included, which makes this even more remarkable because of the level of infrastructure needed to make something like this happen. It's funny to think about like a barely clothed villager with a cell phone or some sort of device to put into his,
his loincloth.
Exactly.
Stick it between
He's
my
rocking a
butt
digital
cheeks.
wallet,
Got it safely in there between my butt cheeks.
Exactly.
buying his oxes with a fraction of a Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah. So there's so much taking place right now.
We actually owned 1 Bitcoin at one point in
We
time.
did.
Oh,
It went
man.
up to like $2,000 or something. And then we were like, oh, let's just leave it there. Let's see what happens. And then we
And then,
lost it all.
and then we had the year it tanked. It was like 2000.
We lost it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. And I mean, if you can go back to those first days of the internet, people laughed at that thinking, oh, we would never use the internet. I'm fine with just using the mail service that exists today. Watch, the mailman's going to be here tomorrow and I'll give them the letter. And then, so when you drop the idea of email to them, they'll just kind of blow it off at that
boomers.
time.
Even my grandfather, I remember like really strongly with being a kid and back in the day when credit cards were first being widely used, and they'd stick it on the thing and do the carbon copy and all that shit.
Yeah.
It's garbage. Like he's like, that'll never last.
Yeah,
Cash is king. And
Yeah.
then like I barely know anybody that carries cash anymore.
Yeah.
And they're
No.
gonna the message is going to continue as far as cash goes for like about it being a liability because of the uncertainty of what it could carry. So
Yeah.
they're going to deter the use of cash even more, and that kind of promotes this technology to the fullest effect.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories like that say that crypto is one portion of a new world order. If you guys have heard that.
New World Order.
Because basically, like, so cash is just, it's a promissory note. And people forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
And each country, each society, those promissory notes have different values, right? They fluctuate all the time. So what crypto is going to do is create a blockchain, and at a certain point, it's going to level out currency. Correct?
Right. Yes. It's digital money, but it also adds different levels of programmability. It's like, to think about how you could program money. It's kind of beyond this right now, but once you start to use it, it'll just click, because it's very similar to using your apps on your phone.
That's what I was going to ask. Isn't it if you work solely with a debit or credit card, you're already dealing in digital cash anyway, because it's information. It's not real. It's just information passing from one place to another. So
Exactly.
I feel like that's just kind of the beginning of it.
But the difference between blockchain technology and what we're currently using is it's a lot more secure.
Yeah,
Oh.
so there's and plus the settlement time. Okay, so sometimes it could take the bank a while to finally run that transaction. You could have ran it, but it won't actually go
It goes
through.
pending for
And
days.
those
Yeah.
freaking pending statuses, they are the worst, right?
Yeah.
So what this technology does, it settles instantaneously. So the moment you use it, it's settled. There's no pending. Well, depending on how fast they're going to, make whatever coin you're using. But I think that's the most appealing part of this whole thing, not from just us as an individual retailer, but to even the most high-profile banking institutions. When they find out how fast they can settle their transactions, because they're moving millions, billions, and trillions, and it can take them weeks to get that settled, this is going to settle it within minutes. And that's going to completely also change the world because of the more, I guess, rapid transactions and more rapid abilities to get things done. You know, where there's no wait time.
Playing devil's advocate, because I have tons of conspiracy friends. So here's the anti-crypto, is that the government makes money. We print money, again, as promissory notes compared to what we have in gold. So there's a conspiracy. Well, I don't even know if it's a conspiracy, but it's an anti-crypto, because once you get to the point where it's all zeros and ones, what's stopping certain entities from just creating their own particular wealth, or, you know, suppressing others? You know what I mean with it?
Yeah, that's the other interesting part about this is right now there are so many wealthy nerds that have suddenly gained that status because they've created this new program, this new digital money, and all they have to do is, once they put it out there, you know, it's on the internet now. And if it becomes legit by the amount of people buying into it, boom, you know, that value increases exponentially. And next thing you know, and when they created it, they're already holding on to a few million that they made themselves. And so as soon as that value starts to go up, boom, they're super wealthy. But not all these programs are legit. So what makes Bitcoin so unique is the scarcity. This is the most innovating and direct part about this, is because there's only so many that have been created, and it cannot be undone. It cannot, you cannot.
Hey, Instagram.
So, for instance, there's 21 million Bitcoin. You cannot create any more. It has this level of scarcity that affects the supply and demand. So say if the majority of all that gets bought up, you know, there's going to be so many left over and very difficult to get a hold of. And that's going to make it a little bit more valuable, because there's just such a limited amount in the supply and it can't be replicated. There's been attempts. There's other forms of Bitcoin out there, but they're not taken seriously. There's only just the one, and it can't be replicated.
I wish I was able to smart myself into millions of dollars. I always, anytime that I'm having like financial troubles or like whatever, I'm always like, what can I do to get more money? And I just can't, like, I wish I had the ability to go, I'm going to create this thing that's going to make me a bajillionaire, and it's, you know, going to be the top notch, blah, 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 blah. I can't do that. I'm just like, I don't know. I'll do this thing over here. I don't know.
So breaking down your podcast, so you're going to basically explain what crypto is, how it works. You're going to get into mining, you know, all that.
Well, what I don't want to make it so confusing. I try and put it in layman's as best I can, but you know, I'll still be using terms that are unfamiliar, that are unheard of. So it's going to be difficult to comprehend at first because you've never heard these words. And so my attempt in the educational process in this is to try and simplify it as best I can, and then to kind of relate it to some real world effects. And, you know, and I'm very, you know, ambitious about this particular thing because, again, how much of an impact it's going to make on the world and everyone in it. And we're going to see that very thing take place even more this year, more so than, you know, what it's been in the past few years when it first came on the scene in 2009, when it started to really, you know, take shape. Exactly. You know, and it's all just been what they refer to as the Wild West, meaning there's hardly any rules or regulations. It's just gun ho. You know, like these nerds just keep putting more funny projects out there that, you know, are not legit, and they're
like the weed cryptos.
And so there are some forms of scams, and so you leave yourself at risk the more this goes unregulated. So they're really clamping down on this. They're dropping the hammer on this year, and it's timely because they know it is time.
Do you ever watch Black Mirror?
And yes, that's exactly what to expect. I would say if you are unfamiliar with any of this, Black Mirror will kind of settle that, the identification.
Have you watched Black Mirror?
Yeah, I mean, only the first season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they have a lot of they introduce a lot of technologies that are feasible in the future.
Yeah.
I
could totally see that happening this year.
Yeah.
But it's so unreal actually seeing it played out.
Yeah. Well, but then again, you think about it, if you would have told people in the 70s, at a certain point, everybody's going to be carrying a computer and you just buy stuff with a card. People would have been like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
welcome to the future.
Yes.
Where can people find out more information from it?
Oh, okay. So the podcast is on Rogue Media, right? So you can look up roguemedianetwork.com and you can find the amazing lineup of shows that, and podcasts that you can find on there. And so, my show is called And Crypto for All. And, originally it starts ... and crypto for all. So it's a play off of, under God and crypto
Pledge
and justice
allegiance.
for all.
Yeah.
So, it's a play off of that. And I use the scales kind of as an image, a cover image to portray that with, with coins on a scale being weighed. But it's also to kind of signify coming in to a conversation that has been taking place for quite some time, and to join the conversation amongst yourselves and others, and making others aware that this is happening and what is it and what's going on. And so you'll find it under And Crypto for All on Rogue Media Network. I didn't choose to put this podcast on YouTube because YouTube is enabling a lot of scams. And, for a lot of newcomers coming into this space, some of them have fallen victim to these scams, these crypto scams that are being left up on YouTube of, believing that you can send crypto and you'll get double the amount back. I don't know how people are getting sucked into this, but this is one way that YouTube is allowing ridiculous things like this to take place. And so I just want to steer clear. Not to mention YouTube is also preferably what they call shadow banning, and deterring people from
YouTube's
finding
gonna hate us
for finding.
They fucking already hate us. Fuck you,
No.
YouTube.
So
I'm all right. Talk all the shit you want.
I use so if you look up my podcast under Rogue Media, you'll see a link that says Uptrend. And so I'll use these individual websites that run on the blockchain technology. So they are, in a sense, a crypto website themselves that I upload a lot of my information onto.
Nice.
Is it you're going to be on Spotify and iTunes and all of places where people can readily access it?
I'm hoping they'll come across it. They do get uploaded onto everything. Mike, again, he's done a wonderful job in when he puts the show out there, it gets on all the platforms.
Yeah.
But there's so many out there. And I think, again, when we see more of the rhetoric and more of the headlines about crypto, there's going to be more searches on crypto. And so maybe they'll come across my show. And again, this is my first podcast. I've never done anything like this. So I started out kind of there was a lot of room for improvement. So I feel like each podcast, maybe I'm getting better, but I'm trying to supply the amount of information needed to learn this oncoming transition.
I'll definitely be watching it.
We'll definitely check it out. Real quick, my favorite crypto scam I've ever seen was the guy in New York who was actually selling coins. They said Bitcoin on them. Do you remember that?
Really?
Yeah, he got arrested. He was selling Bitcoins on the street.
Wow.
People, boomers thought it was
They were like, oh, I've heard of Bitcoin.
Yeah, they were buying the actual coins.
That's a good one.
Well, we're getting to the midnight hour. You want to do some shout outs?
Yeah. Scuba Valley, listen here. Listen closely. You have done a major error. You portrayed me as that witch ass, looking ass, nasty ass thing. I can't abide by it. So you just be ready. You just be ready. I got you. Love you, Scoob.
You provoked him.
That's true. I did start it.
I want to give a shout out to Steve again. Thanks for
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks for introducing us. You made it easy for us. We appreciate it, man.
Yes,
We
thank you.
came here knowing nobody, so it was nice.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was the best part. Like I said, when newcomers were coming in, they wanted to find out what the community was about. I knew how much they were gonna just totally love, what was happening. And so, big shout out to you guys. Y'all just have that carefree ability to just say and show your style, your everything about what y'all do. And so that's very admirable to be like just open about things like that. And with everything that you brought, the disciplined schedule that you've done with Necro Electric, what you've done here opening this shop amidst the craziest year of anyone's life. So it's
wait for this year.
Truly impressive. And fun fact about Scoob, so he was always a tattooist, right? And he was always kind of, done his thing on that ground. And one of the exhibitions that we created, when we were starting out as an art collective, was a Star Wars exhibition. And so I called him up and said, hey, Scoob, I want you to be in this. And he'd never done anything other than tattoos. Mm-hmm. But you see his
progression,
his ability, his talent, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, so where do I get paint supplies?
MC Art Supplies.
So
Shout out.
we definitely directed him to
Yeah.
MC Art, and anywhere that you could just find some art supplies. And he created the sickest Yoda piece that so many people wanted. And I think we did a contest about everyone's favorite art piece in the Star Wars thing. And of course, he won. Mm-hmm. And I think he ended up selling it to one of the original founders of Heart of Texas Comic-Con. When we had a Comic-Con here in town, he sold it to one of the guys who created that. So I think it went, rightfully so. But he the last time I saw him at Eastside Market, he was telling me how much he wanted to go more full time into art because he's a hot topic right now, man. You can't stop him.
Sure.
Totally.
His markings are all over the city.
Everywhere I look.
What about you, love? You got any shout outs?
Shout out to 2021. I love you.
Yes.
No, I think this Valentine's Day, be on the lookout for a burlesque show happening by Mod Ministry and some of our freak show performers. So, be on the lookout for details about that. We're still looking for a venue, so if you're a venue, might be interested in hosting an event like that, let me know.
Nice.
Yep. And I do get people that ask. We run our own ads, because we support ourselves. But if anybody wants us to get your message out, hit us up.
I'll read it good.
Well, thanks,
Real
Steve.
good.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Oh.